You on?
All right, I call this meeting to orders, the October 16th, 2024 Board of Construction Appeals. Mr. Secretary, would you like to call the roll, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barry Briley.
Present.
Mr. Roger Smith. Mr. Bruce Quinn.
Here.
Mr. Brian Lynch. Mr. Jim Moynihan.
I saw him here somewhere.
Mr. Michael Williams.
Present.
John Janone.
Present.
Mr. Wally Gilliam. Okay.
All right. We can all stand. Mr. Williams, would you like to say a prayer?
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the many blessings that you give us. Please be with us there if we go in this meeting to help us make the right decisions that will affect our citizens of Sumner County. Dear God, be with us also as we go out throughout the day for us to set examples for others to follow. Please, dear God, thank you for everything you've done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Birthday Moonham, would you lead us in the pledge?
Who's saying it?
Yeah, Mr. Birthday Guy, would you lead us?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, I went out of order, didn't I?
A little bit. That's all right. We're okay.
Has everybody had a chance to look over a minute from the last meeting? Did y'all hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion. Question.
Second. All those in favor?
Mike said he had a question.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I can't remember if I was here or not here, but I'm not on the list.
You can approve as deformed.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, has everybody had a chance to look at our agenda tonight? Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's nobody signed up from the public to speak, and I guess Mr. Klein's not going to make it. Unless he makes it later, we'll make some time for him, I guess. I have nothing new to report. Under old business, there's nothing there. Under new business, do we want to start with this address requirements, or do we want to move on to the revision of the what we're working on there? Health and safety.
What page did we end on last time?
14.
14.
I'm just curious, what are we on?
Well, we're down here, we're working on this new countywide regulations is where we've been.
For the address requirements?
Well, no, the address requirements, I think let's talk about the address requirements since we're here first.
The only reason I ask is that old business?
Well, it is old business, so
Okay.
it's something we had discussed before.
I think it's the first.
Because I've got two competing agendas here, the only reason I ask.
Okay, well, mine has got it under new business, but can we back up to old business and discuss our countywide address requirements? How's that?
Great.
That's not. I apologize for that. Did I give you this one too?
I pulled it back before I came down.
Okay. Too many chances, so my bad.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it sounds like it's old business, so.
That's all right, we'll just talk about it, we'll use it under old business to discuss what we were talking about before. And I don't know if Marshall or Todd, I don't know if anybody's here, but about these address requirements in order to encourage the public to get these addresses where they're legible out on their mailboxes. And from my perspective, one of the things we've got coming up, and I don't know who we need to talk to or maybe involved in this, but tax bills are fixing to go out. Every resident of Sumner County gets a tax bill. It'd be simple enough to add just a little form in there, just reminding these people, asking them to comply with this and expressing how urgent it is. So, Marshall, I don't know if you've got a contact over there or if...
Yeah, as you recall, last time we met, Michael Guthrie, the 911, the director, Michael Guthrie, come over and gave a presentation, provided us with some good information. One of them was, putting something in the tax bill,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's followed up with him on that, and I think your Marshall's voice is about gone tonight, so we're gonna keep these conversations pretty simple. So maybe we can follow back up with him, because those will be going out, if I'm correct, at the end of this month. I believe tax bills go out, so.
If I may, there may be some federal requirements too as far as postal stuff, so I'll do a little bit of research
That'd be
into
great.
that too.
That'd be great. Another thing, and I've got somewhat of a relationship with our current director of schools, Scott Langford. In my thoughts, if this is something that we could include with some send home material, or whatever's going out to parents, this is about public safety and health of the community. If we could engage him on that, it would be good also. It would be another source to make sure everybody's getting the message, so.
I think as a board, you're more than welcome to do that. I just cannot. from
Oh,
my
no, I'm
office.
yeah, okay,
So,
yeah.
yeah, if you want to entertain that, I encourage it. Anything's good.
And Barry, a lot of these addresses are on these streets that are like not lit or things like that. I don't know if we ever, I don't remember saying this, but why don't we require them to be reflectorized?
I believe that is part of what
Yeah.
he had suggested, and I think
Yeah.
most of those house number address play, those numbers are typically they are, but I don't know, it's something to make sure that.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
include
because I
in-
mean, there's dark little
Sure.
streets that go nowhere.
Yeah, that is an important
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah.
So.
So big enough and reflectorized, so it'll be seen.
he also mentioned, Director Guthrie, that on private drives, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
Yeah,
homes
having arrows.
that have a directional sign, pointing to that particular address. He said that would make the life so much easier.
Yeah.
If we could require something like that in the health and safety standards, so.
So I think it'd be good if he could put something together verbiage wise for us to send it, because he knows what he needs included in there. Maybe include that reflective part.
Yeah.
So that we could get with the appropriate people within county government that could get this out, so.
If there's a fork in the road and there's 4 different addresses down here, you might want to think about one big thing with all 4 with an arrow pointing that way. And as you go down the street, have a specific one for that address, so that they don't go past it. You know what I mean? Another one, all 4 of them are on a big sign where the road forks. Then you're going off into a dark road. Okay, which one's which? So if it's 1024 is the first one you come to. They see 1024, and either the driveway's over here or it's over there, and it points to that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what he had said, something similar to that.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll just get with him, see if we can't, or whoever.
You invited me, remember this. I don't mean to throw more on you, but this actually is a problem within more grown-up areas, because your postal address may not be the same as your deed address or how the county references you, so that's something else to take into account, because I run into that actually more than you'd think. These people live here because that's the postal address that was
Yeah.
assigned, but they're on an intersecting street, and nobody identifies them that way at a county level.
Well, how does the post office handle it? The street address, or do they just know where it's
As
at?
far as I know, they assign these based on whatever the street is and where they think the mailbox is located.
Oh,
That's why I feel like that the property assessor or property tax office would be the appropriate, but because they're going to be correct on addresses, obviously.
yeah.
So, more than likely,
Yeah.
if you're paying taxes on a property you don't own, then we got a bigger issue, so.
Well, I'm just thinking from an EMS standpoint, they're
Yeah.
them trying to find you.
Oh, you're exactly right, Eric, and even in the metropolitan areas, it's a problem. Anybody else got anything to add to that?
Or does they like the GPS? Do they have GPS on their?
They do, but I'm thinking on these GPSs, that most of the time they give you a road and they're not always correct. And I know this from being out. And if you've got an A, B, and C, it's never going to give you the right one. And as quickly as we're developing out here, it's hard for them to keep up with that on the map, so.
Isn't that IRC mandating to have a,
It does, as far as giving the dimensions of the lettering itself with a certain type of brush stroke, like a minimum half-inch brush stroke.
4-inch tall?
Yeah, sure does.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking, he would have, once we got all the correct dimensions on those and whatever they need to, so, yeah, I feel like it's something we probably need to get on soon, get everybody involved. Anything else to add to that? Bruce,
Yeah, well,
you deal with this a lot, so.
I do deal with that a lot. One of the things we do is we do short-term rental inspections over in Nashville. For anybody that runs an Airbnb, there are specific requirements for anybody who has an Airbnb. They've got to have multiple types of address identification on their property. It's got to be like a 4-inch letter on the home, and then another visible signage at the mailbox. So it's visible in a couple of different locations. I don't know if that's something to put on there as well, just.
Possibly, I think, personally, I would just feel happy if everybody put one nice, simple, visible address plate on their property at this point, just to get everybody. 'Cause
Like this.
yeah, that's what, you're talking about on the
See?
curb, yeah, on
See?
the,
I'll come do this at your house for $20.
That's
oh,
right.
he's already buying black paint.
I got a question for
All right.
Attorney Fiddler. Do we need to wait till this gets ratified before we go to the tax assessor and have him to put in the notices that this is a requirement now, because we're probably 3-4 months away from it going to legislation and the commission to get approval for this. And right now, we don't have anything in here in the health and safety standards about requiring addresses. It's something that we're putting in the new
Okay.
health and safety standards.
I think as long as you're not issuing citations or anything over it, then you're free to
Suggest.
put out there. And somebody brought up mail outs for the property taxes. It'd be a good insert for that, or see if they can't put that on there. I don't know how much attention people pay to that, but if something fell out when they were opening it, they might, the tax assessor, if they've got any mail outs, that would be great. I would ask you to entertain any of those options, as long as you're not referencing anything that could be a citable offense yet until you have that mechanism in play, then I think you're fine. It's a suggestion, not a requirement.
All right, thank
And that way we could start that campaign early and let them know that it'll soon be a requirement, but just try to get everybody to start to step up and comply. And I mean, if we could save one life with it, keep some, get somebody in the hospital in time, it'd be well worth it, in my
you. Sound
opinion.
good?
The only thing I would suggest if you do that is to keep a folder of when you've sent them out, and just to pad yourself when you do start having to enforce this. You can say, look, I sent you courtesy notices 5 times.
Yeah.
So you knew this was coming. So just try to keep your paperwork together when you do that, and I think you'll be good to go.
Good, that's what, we'll get on that then.
All right. There's nothing else there under old business. Let's move on to new business and continue our discussion on the health and safety standards. And Todd, if you want to lead us into where we were.
I think we were on page 14,
All right.
where the meeting, that's where we stopped. I think we were talking just above that about the financial recovery for work on a building to mitigate a threat, whether it's a legal procedure or not. I don't know if we finished that, but I do that's where we stopped, right in that paragraph
So-
before.
If we have to take it to the extreme where somebody's not complying, then you're basically giving them a warning that this could result in a lien on your property, and if you're not in compliance?
Yeah, and I always like to remind us that Barry said we might not be able to put this in play for years, but this health and safety may, because right now, we don't have any money to do anything. So
Yeah.
we're not gonna go paint your house, fix a hole in it, because we don't have any money to speak of for
Correct.
this. However, if we did, and then how are we gonna recover? That's what we were kind of discussing right there, and that's 50.
Oh, I see, this is if we had to actually bring the property up to condition.
Yeah, I'm driving down the road, this house looks like it's gonna fall down on the people, well, I'm gonna go call so-and-so, third party, and get them to fix the porch so you don't get killed, and then how am I gonna recover that money?
Correct.
That reality in my job is not happening at this point, but it
Yeah.
may in the future.
Well,
We don't have a, you know,
It's legal versus practical.
yeah,
yes, there you go. It's the means,
if it got to that point, which like I said, very
yeah.
unlikely. I would want the taxpayer to recover their money, so I personally don't have an issue with that. Anybody else?
Okay. So,
Bruce, any input on
No.
that? Mr. Williams?
okay.
I think it's good.
Just understand asking for it and getting it, two different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And then so I don't really, as I'm reading down through here, I don't have anything that jumps out, but y'all may, so, just, 16, 17, 18, just kind of take a look.
Parts of
I think in that second part of 18, I had some concerns, and I put this in there, but I'm just like, well, how are we gonna have a sale? Where are we gonna have a sale? Who's gonna be over the sale? Am I gonna be having a sale? When we, how do I get all this together? It just seems a little much.
Well, I agree.
You would be compiling it and I'd be taking it from there.
Yeah.
There's mechanisms for all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Auction.
The county attorney at that point would probably organize a auction of some
Yeah.
sort.
If you want me to bore you with the details, what would happen is it'd go through the citation process, there's no remedy, then a court proceeding would be filed, then a judgment would be entered in to enforce that judgment. The county would have the ability to foreclose on the property and either sell it, or I guess they could take it into their fold, but I don't imagine they'd want to. But they do what they call sheriff sales or court sales and enforcement of an order. So once you've reached your limit, I'm not trying to give myself more work, but that's where I step in and take it from there.
Yeah.
Is that also called a public auction? They do
If it's
something
a
like-
sheriff sale, that is a public
Yeah.
auction, yes.
So, on part 18, section 2 there, Eric, maybe you need to figure out the correct wording where we go with that, just kind of take that, if this, because obviously it would go over to your office, if it got to that point, which this is a very unlikely event, but
Where I see it, let's just say this goes perfectly for you. The one thing you could run into is what's called a surplus, where all the expenses for the county have been paid, and then you've got to hunt down that property owner and make sure they get back any overage from that sale. This ability to go after what we call personal property, I don't know how enforceable that section's gonna be. I think you have to perfect certain liens
Yeah.
to take personal property, like what they call UCC filings and things of that nature, so I probably wouldn't even touch that.
and if personal property had an existing lien on it, then first lien holder rights would supersede in that particular case, wouldn't they?
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
Like the mechanics lien or something.
So, that one right there could get pretty hairy, that's probably a good one for Eric to craft on.
Yeah, I can take a look at that. Get back with you.
Be great.
How do they handle unclaimed assets in this state?
That's something you would want to ask David Long with finance. There's a whole procedure
Yeah.
you go through where unclaimed property, I believe it sits here for a certain amount of time, then it's turned over to the state. If there's not a claim after so many years, it gets kicked back to the county, and I believe the county gets to put that in its general fund at that point in time. But it's a very long process, and if you want specifics, I would encourage you to ask Mr. Lawing, because I went to law school because I suck at math. So.
And Todd, I'm going, when we're moving on, if everybody is done with that, which probably are, when we move down there to section 21, your next concern, we can run this around the table, but I absolutely believe we should take that out of there because a lot of people drive semi-trucks.
Okay.
And, you know, they're gonna have those on their property. Some people own companies where they might have more than one, and if they're in the county, I just, you know, I think we gotta be.
And then the government's gonna show up on my porch and say, show me 2 bills of lading for last year?
Yeah.
I'll show you a shotgun.
Yeah, that's, we gotta let people be able to pursue their livelihood.
I think that's, where's the building of Layden is down on the semi-trailers,
Yeah.
not the tractors themselves. Are y'all cool with having a semi-tractor and trailer at the house?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times these guys have, you know,
How about, but the trailer sitting there for years and years and years?
well,
It's basically a storage unit for them.
Yeah.
you know where I'm gonna go, Todd, but how often do we?
I don't.
But how often do we encounter this particular problem?
More than not.
You know, once again, I go back to, I believe in individual property rights, and especially when it comes to the county. And you're
Yeah.
not, Todd, not always gonna be in that seat, so I'm sure most of the time you're able to overlook this. Let's just, I would kind of word it that particular, it would have to be in a state of deterioration that was unsafe before I would consider that an issue.
Okay.
Roadworthy, maybe?
Well, you can get what I asked for is a license plate, so I know it's being used, which that doesn't mean nothing, because you can get a lifetime license plate from California and set it over there, and it's just gonna melt down into the ground. And the part that's melting is rubber tires.
Well, can we go back to where we were at on state of deterioration as far as where other stuff? What I mean by that, if you've got one that's sitting out there, all the tires are flat or some of them are missing and it's rusting out and you can see through the thing and it's this thing's gotta be a real nuisance and it's visible from the road. I could see that, but just to go in there because a guy might have one sitting there for 6 or 8 months, I don't know.
Is there a definition that constitutes what a public nuisance would be?
It depends, that's subjective.
Maybe visibility should be a thing.
It's
Not
subjective,
visible
you
from the
know,
road.
if you got $1 million house and you got a rusted, you may not like that.
I agree,
But-
and I think that's where we're at on all of these. This is all contingent upon visibility, right, from the road. Everything's, so if he's got it parked up and he's got a tree line, it's parked behind that tree line.
Yes, but I'm just more practical. Barry is like when I'm riding out there and it's been there for years.
Yeah.
And I know it's not gonna move, so I bring it up.
If you tie the definition into the continuity of the neighborhood.
Yeah, but you
Around-
can't do
yeah,
that.
you can't.
That's you showing prejudice.
So,
Telling me
That's
because I
why
make
you
more
see
money,
those
I don't have
legal
to
terms
tolerate
used
it.
so loosely. They want you to figure it out
Yeah.
and then get sued.
that vehicle is designed, I mean, it's, so I would give it maybe a time frame on it. It has to at least have been moved in a certain period of time.
That's where that 2 bills of lading came from. I'm just pulling stuff out of my hat, you know. So, but that's if you call me back.
Yeah, well, you tell me, Ty, because you're out there looking at this stuff. Is this
Would that be a problem for you in your nice home? The dude just got this semi, to me, it's a shipping container,
yeah,
basically.
With wheels.
It
Yeah.
is, it's, you know, been on.
which I'm completely, I believe people ought to be able to have shipping containers as storage. So, I mean, that's where but would it be a problem for me? I'd probably go talk to my neighbor and say, hey, look, I think there needs to be more of that rather than rearing back with the arm of the government. But, boy, the semi-trailer thing, I want a little bit of a,
Yeah, I separate the two. I don't never worry about somebody driving their work home. That's what that is. That's
Yeah.
their job. But,
a semi-trailer. Yeah, I'm gonna trust your judgment on this, Todd, completely, and I'm not gonna argue with you on it. If you think
No.
it's a big issue, then let's,
Well, maybe put some contingents on it, you know, like I say, 2 bills of lading. Then maybe that's a weird way, there's a better way to go about that, maybe a time frame or something like that, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
I wish we could find some way to, you know, give a little bit of grace there, but,
Okay, we'll give up on the 21 part, but the trailer 22, maybe we think about that.
okay.
Maybe if you went less restrictive, you give yourself some working room to at least engage with the property owner. So something to the effect of appears to be inoperable or something along those lines, then you can bring it up, and then if it needs to go to court, the judge can make that call.
Yeah.
It's gotta go or it doesn't. You could be, because what's gonna happen, this is a very good area for it to get, paint yourself in a corner legally. Because you start putting all these catch-alls, then all of a sudden you have nothing workable. Because stuff starts to contradict itself. It's the classic, the Supreme Court's definition of pornography. You know it when you see it. Well, John, that settled everything. So you might want to consider going the opposite direction to get to where you're trying to go here.
Leaving a little bit of leniency and just operating off of a warning and letting a judge settle it.
Well, I would be curious to ask you, how many of these get resolved when you were just able to open up some method of communication with them?
Takes
Did
a
they
couple
dig in their
years.
heels? Or
Yeah,
did
it
they?
takes a couple of years.
Does it?
Yeah, it don't see you, but because I ain't gonna bother you with that,
Yeah.
because it said not big a deal.
No.
I
I'm just
yeah.
saying as far as getting the issue resolved.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
takes a couple of years.
you're the
long
guy in the
letters, and
field.
sometimes they do, and sometimes I have to just, he ain't gonna do it.
yeah, I'm just here to be devil's advocate.
No, but
at the end of the day, I'll support whatever y'all decide.
Yeah, and I think what Todd's getting at, and a lot of that probably is frustration, because there really isn't any enforcement mechanism in place for any of this. Sure, we can say this and that, but it still has to go to court and be adjudicated.
Yeah,
And I don't think we've ever really,
that's where I get when I've got a bad one and it's necessary, that's
Yeah.
when Eric gets to see me. So I'm not throwing him up for high grass.
no, I'm just thinking
Right.
that this, in that event, we need to move to the potential court action threat pretty quickly on these people that are a problem, so that the people that are not really an issue, that are doing it every now and then, don't feel threatened by
Yeah.
this, I guess, is
Right.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So, I'm good with whatever you decide. I trust you on that, Todd. But anybody else got anything to throw in on that?
Well, I mean, I like his idea about being roadworthy.
Yeah,
Say something like appears to not be roadworthy, and then you can call me up, say, what are you talking about, brother? I just took it to California.
yeah.
Something.
That's easy enough, hook it up, move it. Let me
Yeah.
see it move.
Yeah.
Mr. Wright?
Mr. Chairman, if somebody wants to appeal Todd's decision about moving something like a semi-tractor trailer, they would first come to this board to appeal before they would go to the court system, I believe.
They have 10 days to do that, and if they
Okay.
don't do that,
Okay.
then
But that's only if this document is approved where the Health and Safety Board is integrated into the Board of Construction Appeals, and that's
Correct.
That's really what we're trying to do too, integrate the Health and Safety Board into the Board of Construction Appeals. So if that's approved as it is written right now, then all these complaints, high grass, junk cars, semi-tractor trailers, dilapidated homes, they will come before this board.
Yeah.
Because we don't have it, we won't be having a health and safety
Correct.
board, so just,
Yeah, and I understand that, and it'll ultimately be up to us at that point.
yeah.
My only concern is just like I say with Todd's a great guy. I'm not always gonna be on this board, and neither any of these other guys. I just worry about the mentality, and I've seen it too many times, that we all have, when people get on a board or they get in government, they just become tyrannical. They just want to tear in. That's what I want to avoid. These are our neighbors, and said most of them good people. I don't care if you got 10 tractor trailers in your yard, you're probably a pretty good person, because you evidently work. So I just want to make sure we're treating these people with, kind of respect that we should, and,
Yes.
because we won't always be here. But yeah, your point's
And
taken.
the honest thing about that too is the people who are not gonna deal with me are not gonna deal with any of it.
Mhm.
They're not coming in
Right.
10 days, they're not coming in 50 days, they're not coming in front of the Health and Safety Board, they don't care about it. It's trash and I'm done.
Well, in that case, then that person doesn't care, and I think it should go straight to Eric and be over there at the courthouse. So, I mean, you know, we're here to work with anybody.
Yeah.
But,
I'm just saying that unless you move that time frame back, 10 days to contact us to let the Health and Safety Board take a look at it.
which now is free to have a hearing at this board. There's no
And they-
charge.
Yes, and it's in the current Health and Safety, and.
But it costs
only had
$300 over there.
one
Yeah.
in 6 years I've been here.
Well, and let's hope, you know, it's just a matter of encouraging people to comply, and they do. We know that's probably not the case, but yeah, we're here for you on that. If everybody else is good, I'm good with taking Todd's recommendations on whatever he comes up with that.
Well, see, now I have a question. When did this become a thing? Because in my travels about Middle Tennessee, I see a lot of rural county type places where some of these tractor trailers literally have been parked there for 20+ years. And they've been
Exactly.
utilized as storage, so.
Exactly.
Are they should they be grandfathered in? What does that look like?
Well, it don't say much, because the wheels are half in the dirt. You know, just go down by Dollar General, heading out of town, out of Gallon, going back in there, and there's one there.
Yeah.
Well, I think about the one down 109, a whole batch of them off to the left-hand side as you go into Ward 70. That's quite the eyesore, but I mean, like, I did an inspection last year on a property, rural location. He had an old tractor trailer from a railroad that's long been defunct, but it's been parked on his property for, well, at least 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
It's never going anywhere. He purchased it for storage, and that's why I'm saying, when did this come about? Because, you know, some of these people may have had these things on their property for a long time, and to come in, you know, now and say, well, you can't do that anymore.
Well, it was not anymore, it's you never could. So it's in the health and safety for quite a long time, they just,
Okay.
people doing it anyway.
It was in the previous,
And they
yeah.
don't really have staff, you know, they're doing, you know,
Mhm.
I'm the first dude doing this, right, Marshall?
That's right.
Full-time, mostly.
Is
From what
there
I understand, but-
any zoning things that could apply, like where something might be zoned residential, or another might be zoned industrial or whatever? And so if somebody's got a house there, but they're clearly running a business, and it's not, it's zoned residential, is there something?
That's a Josh problem,
Yeah.
planning and engineering.
It is, but then you gotta ask yourself, is that a business that can be run on a residential property? Some of your professional businesses, like attorneys and
Yeah, yeah,
people like that can, but if it's a bona fide commercial property,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you've got a deviation from what it's zoned for,
right,
and you're ripe for some action there.
yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to think out of the box here. But, so,
And they've got a little bit more teeth, I think, in planning and zoning.
do they,
Yeah.
planning, yeah, okay.
Because a lot of the stuff they get to address before it becomes a problem. You all are having to come up and clean up problems that have come from their not playing well or with the rules.
Yeah.
All right.
About 23 where I've got, you know, trying to get people to move their vehicle, and it'd be a problem if I can't get you to move it in 20 days. Is that long enough?
20 days, I mean, I don't know, Todd, that's kind of a tight time frame when you consider somebody might not just physically have, or they just financially might have
Don't have the money.
the budget to get a wrecker in there or whatever to get it out. So if we give them a little bit more grace on that, it'd be
I
good.
do, I'll be honest with you, I absolutely do. I just have to
Just
put
putting it
something
in writing.
But if it's, I'm absolutely doing, I don't have a problem backing that out at all.
I will say that he gives them way more than enough rope to hang themselves
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Can we move it to at least 45 days, just to make it look a little more,
It's fine with me.
I mean, if somebody else has got a better suggestion, I just.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's better, but I'm gonna make it anyway. You know, you put something on the 20 days, it's 20 days, but the owner has the right to present, reasons for not being able to do it within 20 days, where it could be granted an extension of time.
I think you run into having to do that with almost all these then.
Really?
Yeah,
Real life, it's hard for me to get around to each one.
Yeah.
Come on,
Sure.
Probably 3-week rotations, what my diary looks like most of the time.
so 45 days would fit your
Ain't
schedule.
hurt me at all.
Yeah,
And these are really only things you see from the road.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't get on the property.
Yeah.
What if a neighbor calls?
I ain't getting on the property, I go up her driveway. and
Well,
look
no,
at
but
it.
I mean, you would
Yeah.
make a visual assessment from whichever side's aggrieving the situation.
Yes.
Well, now Todd's kind of like Iran. He's got a truck full of drones. And he's sending over.
Good way to get one shot down.
If anybody else, I mean, I'd like to see 45 days. And Jim, your point's taken, but I don't really want to embarrass anybody with having to explain what their finances are. I just kind of like to give them that grace period. I would think 45 days might. Most of the time, Goodwill or Salvation Army, they'll pick those things up a lot of times for free. So, and if you
Yeah.
donate them. So I don't know.
45 days would be good, especially if they're on fixed income.
I think so.
You know, they'll give them a couple of months there to,
Yeah.
month and a half to get something done.
That work for you, Tom?
Usually works for me in my real life, but it just, yeah, because if you're gonna tell me, well, I had to pay so-and-so, and I'm working on it, I'm good, I'll pop it forward again, but, you know, after a while, ain't nothing happened, you got to squeeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a lot longer than 45 days, I promise.
Yeah.
What about on 24? Is it?
So is there anybody making a motion to change that to 45?
I think we're gonna make a motion at the end of everything to approve all the changes. Is that how we typically do it?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
Okay, all at one time, so we're trying 45 days. Okay.
About that time frame on 24,
2 weeks?
we'll move it to piggyback to 45 days.
I don't think consistency is king.
Yeah.
What am I missing here? Why is this different than? What's the violation difference?
Well,
Maybe I park my vehicle at your house on any lot, you know, where it's, I call and the owner says, well, that's the tenant's vehicle. So I don't know if it's enough different or not.
Well, but you say it's gotta be abandoned, unlicensed junk, or dismantled.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the same thing as before?
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of.
Yeah,
redundant.
on any lot or
License,
parcel.
Yeah, same.
I don't think I have that on, I think, let's see, describe this, should,
Maybe roll those two together.
yeah,
First line, 23.
okay, squish them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at us saving the county ink.
Well, we cut and chopped a little bit on here, it's a little yellow off.
Yeah, we.
I was hoping somebody wasn't being here, my man Jim, show me mercy, dude.
Jim likes to read everything. When we move to 27, my question for you, Todd, it says in here, in open areas of the property. That doesn't say visible areas of the property. That could be interpreted as, hey, I got 50 acres, I'm back off the road, I got a burn pile out there, it's got a bunch of old cans and stuff in it, and I don't know how,
Yes, you do.
well, I mean, but you can't see that from
You
the
wanna say
road.
visible areas from the road?
I mean, yeah. Cause if people ain't seeing it, it ain't hurting anybody.
What
Well,
about
that goes
this?
back to my original question. It can be seen from a neighbor's
Yeah, that's what I
perspective.
was gonna say.
Any visible area of your property
Or
to another
neighboring
person.
properties, maybe?
Yeah. Any visible by others area of your property.
Or we can keep it, make it open areas of the property.
But that's kind of draconian, don't you think? 'Cause that,
No, I'm just repeating what it says.
oh, yeah.
Remote areas of property.
Maybe visible open areas of the property, or something along
Yeah,
those
that's
lines.
pretty
Yeah,
good.
Say that again, Bruce, visible,
The visible open areas,
okay.
I don't know if that should be publicly visible or,
Visible.
Don't rope yourself in.
Yeah, the more you
Yeah.
explain, the more you gotta defend.
Okay.
I know Marshall's been working on something, because I briefly read through what's going on, this whole shipping container stuff, and that's done through planning anyway, so there's really nothing we can do. That have to be changed through planning, and I don't know, guys, what do y'all think on that?
Maybe you could just 28 on that after the first sentence, unless in compliance with Department of Planning and Engineering Department, Planning and Engineering Department, because they're the ones that grant all these, is that correct? If they're in compliance?
Yes, but, right now, the health and safety standards, current document, it's not allowed, shipping containers aren't allowed for residential stores, or they're not allowed for residential homes. We put this language in here to give everybody a chance to at least look at it,
Yeah.
before, the new health and safety standards are adopted. Everybody knows there's a growing trend of shipping containers being used as storage or even residential homes. So we just put it in here for you all to look at, and the planning committee to look at, to consider. If it's something that they want to leave in or take out, it's just for informational purposes only. And because right now it's prohibited
Mhm.
in health and safety standards, and it's also prohibited in the zoning regulations. But if it's changed in the health and safety standards, then for us to issue any permits on it, it would also have to be changed in the zoning. But somebody's got to go first on this. I figured since we're working on health and safety, we might as well take a look at it now. But if it's approved in the health and safety standards, then they'll have to go back and make adjustments in the zoning regulations if they want to do it also. It's even though it may be approved in health and safety, it still may not go nowhere if the planning director and the planning committee decides they don't want to do it.
So, after saying all that, and now that makes perfect sense, if we go ahead and start and modify it from here, then they have to step up and modify. What I personally would like to see is just shipping containers may be used for storage as long as you've received that permit from the planning commission. Leave all the other language out of that as far as the walls being encapsulated and all that. Let them deal with that however they want to deal with it, because
Don't you wanna put some upfront expectations?
on the shipping containers,
Mm-hmm, like if I want a storage and I side it with wood and gable roof it, you can't tell me that it's a shipping container anymore. it's got the same dimensions, but you can't tell me that. Just like we had one over by Josh where he built a fence around it that high, 9 foot high, and Steve was like, you can't see it. You can't tell me that's what that is from the road.
Yeah,
You can't tell me that, because you can't see it.
I,
And so I don't know if that's a concession. It's an expensive concession. I'm saying, why don't you just go buy accessory structure off the side of the road, look a lot nicer, but
yeah.
Would that be okay?
a log cabin.
Well-
That is,
That's my primary concern. I think that people have found a lot of utility use for these things. And they're,
Logs on
I
the
mean, they're
outside,
great.
windows, doors.
But I don't wanna make it so expensive for them that they would, but that, cause that's why people use them, because I mean, it's relatively inexpensive, makes great storage, it's a great.
Yeah.
Now, do I want somebody to bring one and put it up there with graffiti all over it? I mean, I think there's expectation as far as that's concerned. But, I mean, they're great storage units. I mean, I would just try to figure out a way to make it somewhat pleasant to the eye without them having to spend $1 million to make it a,
it's hard.
yeah,
It's putting a ribbon on a pig.
yeah. Well,
I don't even live in a
You
fat
see
house,
that.
Barry, and I don't want that next to me.
yeah,
It's gonna degrade my property value.
that does it, Todd. I'm buying the one next door and doing that. No, I'm with you. I see that. I mean, I understand what you're saying. We're talking about county properties.
And like Marshall, he and I looked online, and it's not like we're that progressive of a county, and maybe don't want to be, but people are making homes out of these. We saw one with 8.
Yeah, oh, I
It
know.
was 8, and still, for my taste,
No,
but
I wouldn't, but the expense factor of them has made a lot of people kind of go to that, and
Yeah.
it's pretty neat, to see it done, but I'm gonna yield some of these other guys and let them put some. Bruce? You've read through that, or
I keep reading through it.
Mike?
I just wonder what some of our other counties in Middle Tennessee, how they enforce that.
But this one's kind of a stick, because I personally know several people that have expressed that live out in the county, they either want to keep like the ammo and things like that and use as gun rooms or whatever, and, I mean, they're great for that, man, and I don't want to, keep people from being able to utilize them for that.
Stop telling all my secrets.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce.
I'm still confused on the exception part. Is all of this basically telling me I've got to go to planning before this is even considered?
of course.
Okay, then from your perspective, wouldn't it be better just to say it's a violation to have them
No.
unless permitted by planning?
It is, but it.
If we're in this
If you're gonna go
situation-
down this
If
road.
we're in this situation with planning, because they're not looked at this, and we hope for them to look at it, and let's just pretend like Josh looks at it next week and whoever, and they go, then it's gone.
Okay,
But we throwing it to them and saying, here's, if you consider it, this is what we would consider acceptable. These are exceptions that we're okay with, not a raw shipping container. We're saying it's gotta look so and so and so and so, bring it up. Would you even consider that? But no, and we have told them once ever we get close, and we're not so close now, but get this thing polished up a little bit and let them look at it. And
Okay.
I know this is one they're gonna look at for sure.
I got
So
you.
the-
And then your argument is, should we even do it, period?
Well, no, I know and just what Marshall said, once we modify this from this board, then planning has got to come back and take a look at it and put their stamp on it.
Yeah.
So our goal here is for planning to pick this up and look at it again, because right now as it stands, man, you got to spend a ton of money to have a shipping container on your property. And honestly, I think everybody's on board. I'd like to make that a little more reasonable for people, but at the same time, be able to uphold some integrity to the thing. I mean, I think, of course, it needs to be painted all one color that is in earthy tones or whatever you want to put in there.
It can't be just a rusty pile of junk thrown out there, but, I mean, to have built walls around it and all this and put it on a concrete pad, man, that's a lot. A lot of people like to bring these up in their field and drop them on the ground.
Yeah.
But,
So this, what I'm going back to, what's causing me to ask these questions, this in and of itself, this right here is meant to be adopted, correct?
correct.
So if this is adopted, this exception part is intended to be adopted with it, or are you just using this as a kickoff point to get
No, I would
planning
say
on
so,
board?
so yes, it would be adopted with these stipulations.
Only if planning signs off.
Yes, they're okay with it.
If they're okay with it, yes.
They may have something different. They may allow a glass door on the end of it, or they may not want any of it. And that's okay too. We're okay either way.
My only concern is whatever you adopt here, if at any point in time it becomes in conflict with what planning will do, then which one's gonna control?
Planning,
But from a resident's perspective.
planning. You
But
can't do anything in this county unless you go through planning and engineering. You may got the greatest idea about the acceptable shed, but your location is off. No.
So, do we really want to get down into the weeds on the description here of all the
I guess that would
requirements?
be, I think we should put it in there and then let Josh, and then look at it to
Okay.
say it's not enough.
It's too nebulous to me. I'm sitting here looking at it going, must be encapsulated with approved siding on the rear, roof, gable. I mean,
It's gotta look like a shed.
Yeah, so, and I'm with Bruce, my point is, let's take all this complicated stuff out of here, because they're gonna come back and they're gonna put all this fancy stuff in there, what planning is, or they're not, I mean, so, I would like to see just this thing be simplified as much as possible. I mean, it must be, walls,
I think if there's any hope of this, them even considering this, these stipulations gotta be there. If not, we already have that,
yeah.
which is a shipping container raw, and they don't want it. And that's okay.
we're talking about permanent slabs and footings and stuff, and what if they wanna move the thing to
Yeah.
another portion of their property?
It's a
I mean,
permanent structure, once you put it on a slab, isn't it?
you know,
What was the intention of that, Marshall?
Just like over the years, we've had
I'm
several
sure we
people
put them
that
in
bring
wrong.
these, I say several, probably 8 to 10 over the last few years that bring them in and we can tell them, no, it's not allowed, it's gotta go. And they say, show us in the resolution, we show them, they say, well, what can I do to change the resolution? And that's really our motives behind this.
I mean,
Yeah.
the footing and everything, and the 18 inches,
Yeah,
where did that
so just-
change come
The
from?
metal
Why would they
container
have
should
a
be
That's
well
how the
maintained,
building
painted,
code is.
building
rust,
code? Is that for
Yeah.
a resident? only?
simplified down to that.
That's what
That's
I
what-
would like to go to.
It's for any
I
structure
think-
really, that's, the foundation's
I
gotta
think
go
his
below the frost
point is,
line. That's-
unless it's this descriptive, planning won't touch it.
Yeah,
So he's trying to create competition to
I see where
get
we're
something.
going now. And what about in the event, some people bury these things, use them as storm shelters too?
We got that in there
Okay,
too.
all right. And in that case, they wouldn't have to put anything on the outside of it because it'd be covered, so.
This is true.
All right,
We have a.
No, they still
engineer
gotta put the siding on.
yeah, it's gotta be sided.
here. Sod side.
Yeah,
But once it goes to planning committee, they, like Todd said, they may modify it, they may say, no, we don't want shipping containers, in residential, no matter what they look like, and that's the end of it, that, it'll be pulled after that. It's really gonna be up to them.
if I was just went through here and there's a couple things that I would like to take out of it. Shipping container must be supported by an approved permanent footing slab or if elevated by an approved brick or block foundation or crawl space. I mean, man, these things are designed to sit on the ground. I mean, I don't know, guys, what do y'all think? That you want somebody to have pour a slab to put shipping container on, or? I know what you're gonna say, Todd, they're not gonna touch it if I go through
No,
here.
I don't know about that part right there, that's why I asked
I
Marshall
don't think
for
it's
it.
overkill.
You hear me, Barry?
Yeah,
That's why I asked Marshall, because I was not sure,
Yeah,
because I don't think that's gonna be, it's all appearance in my
and I
mind.
like the front of the metal container shall either be encapsulated or well maintained, painted and free of rust and corrosion. That part, I'm completely
So I would say just put that as the requirement.
And it don't,
It needs to be well maintained, needs to be painted, needs to be.
and they're gonna kick it back and they're not gonna mess with us, so we gotta find a happy medium here. I mean,
Will planning get to look at this before this is voted on and
Oh, yeah.
ratified?
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'm almost of the opinion, leave it in there and then see what
See what
kickback
they
you
do.
get, then vote on it then.
leave what in there, everything in there?
Because you can still change it. My concern is it getting voted on and then trying to do an amendment to this thing.
Okay.
As long as you can address Todd's concerns without voting on this thing and putting it in play,
Yeah,
then no harm, no foul.
okay.
Yeah. Maybe if we can just get the recommendation from the Board of Construction Appeals that y'all think it's a good idea, or you don't think it's a good idea, and then they can, like Eric said, take it and work on the details of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
pending your feedback.
All right, well, then, I'm good with that, that makes sense to me. Let's get the ball in the air. Get the ball in the air.
But there's another recommendation I'd like for y'all to weigh in, Mr. Chairman,
Uh-huh.
and that's using, shipping containers for, dwellings.
Well, in that case, then they would have to meet all the criteria for sure if it was,
It don't have to be, engineered design, the whole thing has to be engineered
Yeah.
design.
I mean,
Is that in here somewhere, Tom?
It is, it's in the same.
Yeah,
it's-
page 18.
it's got-
what do you got in there, Todd? I mean, is that?
It's just the same.
Unless
Top of
design-
the next page says something, doesn't it?
Page 18.
Which makes sense, if you don't want somebody just stacking them up and running wires to it and play.
It's
Designed by,
You still gotta go through planning though, don't you?
You do, but
Yeah,
once you do, to get a permit for it, it would obviously meet all that criteria.
Oh, then it becomes a codes inspection.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, right there at Marshall.
Yeah, mine's right here.
oh,
Second paragraph, page 18
I mean-
on mine.
Mr. Wright, I think if that's what somebody wanna do, I'm great with it, but how do you feel about it from your perspective? Because you see things like this all the time, is that something that would be dangerous, or?
Well, we see a large spectrum from what I've researched on Google, from a single shipping container looking like a shotgun house
Yeah,
to 4 or 5 different modules, shipping containers put together, looking like multi-million-dollar homes.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I would be careful and cautious about allowing one shipping container as a residential for that very reason, but maybe a minimum requirement of 2 or 3 module shipping containers put together where it at least looks like an L shape or T shape or something, not just one.
so could we put a minimum square footage to,
Well, the square footage of a standard shipping container is, you got it right here. Tyler, you want
so, and I understand.
8.5.
So if we double that square footage, then we know where it will at least take 2 shipping containers, and you wouldn't be just using one.
Where's,
it should be right there.
no, I know. It's, I think it's 8 by 8.5 or 9.5 by 20 or 40.
Yes.
So, and he's saying that he would, to just use one would probably not be a good idea, but if they could combine some, so I would think that the minimum would be whatever the square footage of 2 of those is, and then to go from there, so you know it would at least take 2, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd say minimum 2, and it have to be designed by a professional engineer or architect.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm gonna apologize, because we worked on that a lot. I took the 17 and 18 out. I was wondering why y'all weren't seeing what you got. So this
okay.
is the latest change. I apologize so much for that.
Well, we'll put it on your permanent record, Todd.
Yeah. It's the pay, brother. Give up.
Yeah, I get it.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Can I get one of those?
I'll let you look over my shoulder if you need to. Uh-huh.
Musical notes.
Anyway, I didn't want to rip all the staples out and make it more of a mess. Apologize for that.
So, my thoughts on that, just going off what Marshall said, that it needs to at least be a minimum of 2 of them, so just double the square footage, and that way you don't even have to say 2, but it would take 2 to complete the project, so,
Yeah, and they're not, I know they're not having a single wide
yeah.
modular home, mobile home here anymore, so one of those would be just basically one of those, so you'd have to have more.
I mean, another thing that I would maybe consider, but the same thing it is on a 1 acre lot, you can't put a single wide trailer on it, right? You have to have at least a minimum 5 acres, maybe a minimum
Well, you
acreage.
can't have a single wide anymore.
Wow, boy, y'all went all bougie on that.
That was.
What do you think of, Franklin?
Well, my family wouldn't even been able to live around here growing up.
That's right.
Well, I was saying maybe an acreage requirement to have shipping containers. I mean, you wouldn't want 1 acre lots with shipping containers sitting on them, so, I mean, that would be my only one add that I would think would be feasible.
So we just put a question mark.
Yeah.
about-
Anything else on that, or are we moving to swimming pool?
We can go forward if you want to. We usually stay here an hour. It's up to you.
Oh, that's right. Let's see how much more this we got. Let's go.
That might be a good place to stop.
Getting through it, man, there's a lot. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. We're gonna stop right there and just,
Swim boat.
hit that owl so I don't.
Gig, no.